Good afternoon, guys. This step here is to locate the dowel pin on the transmission to a different location, because we have to cut out. The dowel pin is here and the dowel pin is here from the Miata transmission. This is going to be eliminated because we have to cut a slot here for the starter relocation. So we're going to have to relocate this dowel pin to a different place, and that is just below this bolt hole with a 3/8 dowel pin. So what we're going to do is put the adapter plate on the front of the transmission. Bolt it up. So it's solid. Now this has to be done first before you cut the opening for the starter, because if you take the opening for the starter out, you have no means of locating the bell housing and the transmission and the adapter plate in the right location. It'll be off center from the crankshaft. So this has to be done first. We provide you with a drill bit, and it's got to be 1.25 inches in. There's a hole right here. It's also says right here, caution, step number 1, new dowel pin location. So what we do is take this, drill it out, once it's drilled out, then we can go to step 2, which is cutting the opening for the starter relocation. As you see, the dowel pins are snug in there because they have to locate center. Now we can take this pin out and install the 3/8 pin, which is here. That's the one you just drilled. Now once you put this in, that'll locate the bell housing in the right orientation. The same as before. Now we're able to cut out the starter, the relief for the starter. In the adapter plate, you will see that we have a slot here designated for the starter. The starter will be going on this plate like this, and it's bolted onto that, and then it will be going in this direction. So now it's time to get ready to cut the hole for the starter. Continuing on with the video, we have to make the cutout for the starter, and by that I have a pattern, which is this one, that you lay over the bell housing and it fits in perfectly. Now you got to trace the outline, and then you got to cut it out. Now there's 2 ways of cutting it out. One of them is using a cutoff wheel on your grinder, which is this, and also is this one here. And also, I found this one to be very helpful, and it's like It's like $30 from Harbor Freight. And it's a little little cutter, and this works really good on some areas because the wheel isn't deep enough to cut all the way through in some areas. And I did find out that regular hacksaw blades will go right into that, which gives you a little bit more choice on how many teeth per inch. Because on aluminum, you want to have them a little bit coarser, so the teeth don't, clog up. So once you cut this out, and this is the piece that was cut out. As you can see, this is the piece that was cut out. And this was the pattern that we used in order to get it. This is the pattern. Everyone will get a pattern for that. They'll just butt right into that. Now the next step, clean everything up. Put your dowel pin in, and this is the adapter plate. Now this is the adapter plate with the starter bracket connected to it. All you have to do is put it into the slots that are designated for it, and there's a groove for the teeth on the flywheel. It only goes in one way. Well, it could go in, it only fit one way, so you have to put it. And then what we have here is this couple holes here. These holes are just so you can get your Allen wrench in here to tighten it up. You'll find these to be very helpful under the car, because when you see it under the car, you'll have to get the bolts in from the bottom. Now to put this on is very easy. It fits into the slot. Line up your one slot. Then you can line up the bottom one, and it goes home. Then it goes home. And we'll put the couple bolts in here just to hold it in place. As you can see, it's located with the relocated dowel. You must definitely have to remember the first step. Okay, now this is all in place. We'll be supplying some Armorflex insulation to go around here to cover it up. And now the starter, there's dowel pins in the starter. There's 2 dowel pins in the starter, so the location is exact. There's no guessing with that. Just put that on. And basically that's how you get the starter to fit on the transmission and the engine, so the engine starts up. As you well know, the engine doesn't have a starter, it's on the transmission of the Honda. So that's how we do that. But now we're going to be putting another bracket on the back of the starter bracket. The reason for that is just a protection. We don't need it, but we're gonna supply one so that you can put it onto the bell housing, screw it into the bell housing, or pop rivet it into the bell housing, so that the stress of pushing this out from the flywheel when it's starting takes some of the stress off it. It's not necessary. I haven't had any problems with them in the past, but no sense in waiting for problems to happen. So anyway, so this is where we're at here. I'll get this off. Okay, that was off. And now what we're gonna do is over on the back here, we're just gonna put a little tab of metal to go onto here. I'll have this all drilled out and everything. And it'll be able to bend it back a little bit so you can get your starter bracket in place, and then just screw it to it. And that stops it from pulling out. It doesn't pull out, but you know, I don't want to take a chance on it. Now the next step, that's as far as the putting the starter onto the transmission, allowing the engine to start. Otherwise, the engine won't start. But it might be a little bit, you know, daunting at first, but it really isn't. Once you do one, you know, there really is no problem. And as far as the strength, you might say, well, you're cutting into the bell housing and the strength, and I never had any trouble with it. So you have a lot of bolts on the transmission to hold it all in place. Everything's socked home. It's solid, and that's it. So this is the whole thing together. Like I said, we're going to be. You can see a little dot here. We're going to drill it out and put just a flat piece of steel here, just to hold it so it doesn't try to pull out. Then the next thing we do, I will get that in a minute. Let me put it on pause.